Hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 10th day of November, 2022. Well, I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm still waiting for one more delivery. It's running late, but I guess it's out for delivery now. I bought I think it's 12 quart pot, and it has a pasta insert and then another like a steamer insert from there. And I love it. I absolutely haven't used it yet, but I love it. And it's heavy, and it's just very cool. Anyway, I've got that, but I also needed a new stir fry pan, a new wok. My daughter-in-law has one that I just love. It's just cool. It's all stainless steel, and so I was looking for one. I don't think I got the same one that she has. In fact, I know I didn't. But the one I'm getting looks nice, but I won't know till I get it. I also got a new tarot deck, which is very cool. It's all black background, and it's a Rider weight, but it's very cool. So anyway, sometimes you just, treat yourself. But I love making soups, and we can use this thing for when we process beans from the garden and all of that. So I have a smaller one that has an insert we use, but this one is much bigger. So I can do bigger batches at one time. So anyway. Plus, if I want to do any gluten-free pasta in it, I can do that. But I mean, it's massive, so I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, let's take a look at today's... where'd they go? Well, I lost them. Where are they? There they are. Oh, it's right there. I guess I didn't lose them. Let's look at today's esoteric influences. Again, I've been doing those daily on the blog instead of doing one at one sitting, just one post like I had been doing. I thought, well, we can put something up every day that way. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Let's see. Oh, and I added a couple of different social media sites to the description. If you click on show more and you see all that stuff I have, there's links to where I am. And I put Counter Social and also Mastodon. I moved Twitter down to the very bottom because I don't have any confidence left in that. I have a feeling that it's not going to last. And so after especially seeing what I was looking at this morning on it, I don't know. I think that I'm feeling a little uncomfortable with it. So I'm not going to be there as much. I don't think. I'm on the other platforms a little more now, checking that out. And Counter Social is a lot of fun. So I don't know. If you're into social media and stuff, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, then you're much better off than those of us who actually know what I'm talking about. But anyway, let's look at today's esoteric influences. With Jupiter still in sensitive Pisces, your emotions, self-assertion, and your imagination are increasing. You rely on your inner voice to understand your new path, while the spiritual values you cherish will keep you grounded on the path of success or to positive outcomes. Your patience and selfless attitude attract others, and your insights are well received. Therefore, progress is almost a given when you collaborate with others. And you find that receptivity gets you more than trying to control the outcome. So a little more receptiveness today than being pushy. Anyway, and with Jupiter still in retrograde, a lot of this is inner expansion. That now I guess it stations direct on I think the 23rd and leaves retrograde completely on the 24th. Well, you have the shadow effect, but and I'm going to put something up about that, I think, on the blog. I did a chart that shows the shadow effect of each planet that goes retrograde. It was kind of a fun exercise to do. I learned how to do that and to determine that. And I thought, well, I'm going to try that. And I did. And I made a chart. But we'll see. I may put that up on the blog just to have there. But anyway, if you're working magic today... Ooh, I'm hitting the desk here with my knee. Today's magical focus includes social justice, healing, abundance, income, growth, and achieving goals. The favorability for working magic is very good. and the waning moon, which would include magics of decrease. The waning moon is full still, and relationships are an important part of your life. That's one of the messages behind the full moon. It also brings light to everything. The crone moon was last night, and we had the eclipse. I took pictures through my bedroom window and then through my back porch door. I took pictures as I wasn't going to go out. It was so cold, because this was like at 10 after 3 in the morning when I took those pictures. But and they're really, really small, so I wasn't able to enlarge anything as I was taking it. So. But it was definitely orange. It would look like it had a lot of different colors to it. Really, a lot of different shades. So that was pretty cool. Lots of interesting energy right now, where we're trying to manifest, maybe a new path forward. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. Let me get rid of this here so I can see what I'm doing. Where do I want to put it? I guess I'll put it over there. Today's rune is Ansus. Now, Ansus is known as Odin's rune, and it's about spirit communication, really, or communicating with others from a spiritual perspective, or spiritual awareness, or higher awareness. It's a very high vibratory rune in that regard. Odin was not a god. Odin was likely somebody that was extraterrestrial, but he was not a god. I realize that we refer to all these entities as gods and goddesses and all of that. But realistically, they weren't. They were definitely higher vibratory beings that somehow came here. But basically, metaphorically, we think of Ansus as interacting with people in a way that is from a higher spiritual perspective, versus getting down into the muck of the ego. And so let's see what the Geomancy rune has to say. We'll throw down the elemental ones and see if we can get the below side of this. So we definitely have a higher self rune here on the as above side. Let's see, that goes there. Okay, well, I think we had this on Monday as well, Caput Draconis. What did I do with it? Oh, right on top. So again, new beginnings that need to be, or on the threshold of something new that needs to come from a spiritual perspective instead of the ego. There's just been, with election season, there was just a lot of ego and a lot of stuff that's, very authoritarian and, fascist and all of that. And that's not obviously from a higher perspective. Trying to control what women do with their health and their what should be between them and their doctor, kind of thing, or finally just the woman's choice, right, to do what they want to do here. To put women in such a bad position, especially if you're pregnant and the pregnancy is ectopic, and it's like, oh, you've got these men in these state legislatures that are deciding for women, and they're idiots. They don't understand what that is, and they think that they fantasized it to the point that women's lives are at stake. And so I hope that, I know there was a bunch of bills around that, or votes that got taken having to do with that, encoding a woman's right to choose into their constitution or something, or I don't know if it was constitutional. I don't know what they did, but to encode that in, so that women are protected. The people spoke, basically. And there was a lot of folks rejected what these state legislatures were doing. And so again, being able to understand the truth of something needs to be the path that we take together, instead of having fantasy come in and try to curtail things that are none of their business, really. At least as in my opinion. I mean, you may see it differently, but that's just my opinion. So let's see what we have here. Well, we have 2 cards from Cups and 1 card from the Major Arcana. And again, the card from the Major Arcana is a Hierophant, and so it pretty much aligns pretty well, I think. I guess it depends on how you see it, but it aligns pretty well with Ansu's. But we can, I'm wondering, we have the 9 of Cups and the 7 of Cups, but I wonder if I ought to maybe put the Hierophant up top in the middle. And I'm going to switch the 7 with the 9 so that we can kind of read this in a variety. Well, this is kind of how I did, I think, the last reading, only instead I think I had 2. Did I have 2 major cards? Or that might have been last Thursday. I don't remember now, and I didn't write it down. Of course, see, I say I'm going to do that, and I never do. Well, I will for a little while, and then I forget. I get busy, and my mind goes someplace else, and I forget to do it. But sometimes you can take, if you're doing a 3-card reading, you can choose 1 or maybe 2 as significators, as the overall influence of the other card or the other 2 cards. And that's what I'm going to do with the Hierophant. I'm going to put the Hierophant up top, and because it just seems like there's maybe 2 different messages here with the 7 and the 9, but maybe not. Maybe we can read it 2 different ways. Maybe where the 9 is the fulfillment of the 7. So maybe we can do it that way. But let's talk about the Hierophant. Now, the Hierophant represents divine wisdom and balance. Knowledge and tradition are the keys down here. You see triplicities everywhere. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Although this makes 4, 5 for the 5. He's holding 3 fingers up. Well, he's holding up a thumb and 2 fingers, but there's 3 there. You also have 3 little levels here on his scepter. I don't know in Catholicism if it's called a scepter. I have no idea. But here you have the same kind of raiment down here, where there's 3 there. You also have, and again, you've got the pillars. There's 2 pillars here for balance. But the idea is divine wisdom, mercy. Let's see, idealism, mastery, hidden knowledge. It can represent a teacher, but it can also be the spirituality within, the divine wisdom within. And so again, aligning well with Ansu's, if you think about it that way, then our perspective needs to come from something that is not egoic. Because if it is, then it's all going to be about whatever fantasy you want to engage in, and then you're going to want to have everybody else have to live with it. It's like no. We all have the right to make our own choices, right? But the ego gets in there. It wants to control, and just like with today's esoteric influences, the idea that receptivity gets you more than trying to control the outcome. Well, receptivity then could be the higher awareness, you see, to drop resistance and just observe and see where things go, especially if you're collaborating with other people. And so so I don't think we have to get too deep in the weeds here with the idea of this being something religious in nature. I think that it's just the higher awareness that Spirit allows. If you access that level of perspective, that level of awareness, and come from that standpoint, I think it makes it a little easier, especially if you're looking at a bunch of stuff and nonsense that someone's dishing out. You can kind of sit back and go, okay, where are we going with this? And not really get yourself into the middle of it, take a higher perspective and to try to understand what's going on with this person. Maybe there's a way to help salvage it, without people getting into conflict with one another. Because when egos clash, that's never a good thing. because you get all caught up in that moment. You get all caught up in your own mind and your own ideas, and you can't really see the other perspective. Whereas if you remain a little more neutral about it, and just think of them, okay, these are just ideas, throw them all on the table and don't own them anymore. They're on the table, and we're going to talk about them. Maybe you're less likely to press your own agenda that way, because it does tend to come from something that is not particularly spiritual. It's usually something that's more ego-based. And so then that gets us into the seven of but so with that foundation, we'll say with that foundation, and then we'll leave the Caput Draconis off to the side here, because that's the new path that's unfolding. We're on the threshold of something more spiritual and more spiritual awareness as to what's really going on in our lives and in the world and all of that. So here we have the Seven of Cups. Now, usually this is not necessarily the best in turn, because you see you have seven cups in the dark clouds. You've got all kinds of things. Now you can think of this, and I've always tried to see it very positively, that you're dreaming new dreams without maybe considering silly stuff. How do you know what you really want? I mean, maybe you do right away, but you might throw some things out there and think, well, I could go do this, or I could go be that, or I could go do that, and eventually, some of it's just not very realistic. You maybe you can't write the novel because you can't quit your job, right? You can't in other words, you can't just simply leave your family, or if you're not married or you don't have a family, you still have rent to pay, for example. So you can't necessarily stop working to then write the great novel. So at this juncture in your life, either you have to figure out how to do that differently, like at night or whatever, and on the weekends, or you can't devote your whole time to it. So that might be something that might be unrealistic, to do it the way you'd like to do it, right? But the other thing is that the seven of it, you can think of it as dreaming new dreams. The other thing, though, and because of the dark clouds, there's a certain level of unrealisticness here, that you're thinking about things that your head's in the clouds. You're not really thinking about things that keep you grounded. You're thinking about all kinds of stuff that doesn't matter, anything like that. With the seven of there's not a lot of balance. Seven is a number of balance. It's also a number of observation. So I guess that's why I've always tried to see this in maybe a little more positive sense. But on the other hand, if you want to liken it then and relate it to the Nine of Cups, where we have a jolly little fellow there sitting on his bench, his arms are crossed, but he's not defensive. It's like, oh, look what I've done, and he's so happy. He's so emotionally fulfilled by it all. That, and with nine, you're coming to the end of something. It's endings, it's completion, it's conclusion. It's also spirituality. So in a sense, he's got it all displayed, but it's not before him, it's behind him. And so it's like, look how happy I am. Look at all that I've accomplished. And now I've got all this emotional security and happiness from it all. And again, maybe this is the precursor to it, where you've had to think about a lot of different things, consider a lot of options, things that make you feel emotionally secure, and then maybe you found it. But at the same time, if spirit doesn't come in to sort of govern some of that, you can get off on little tangents that don't really get you where you want to go. And again, with Caput Draconis, there's kind of a new path opening here on the threshold of something new. And how can you be emotionally fulfilled? Are you going to live with the insecurity that I talked about that earlier with women's rights? There's a lot of insecurity for women depending on where you live. It's not in all states, obviously, but it is in some, and more than we'd like to see, because you don't want to see any of it. And so with that insecurity, there just seems to be some of that here, because it's kind of like flitting from here to there to there to there, and not really seeing things from a grounded perspective, or a realistic perspective. And again, when you're dealing with spirit versus ego, it's the ego side of things that gets in the way, and it can get in the way of your happiness. Let's take one more card. Lately, I haven't had the need to do that, but I feel like there's something that's missing. Like there's a piece of the puzzle here that can explain this a little bit further. Oops. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. Here we have the Six of Cups. So 6, 7, 9. Well, and I mean, let's see. Well, we still come up with a 7 there. So here we have the Six of Cups. Now, because I do runes, this is Gebo. That's balanced energy exchange. It's the gift. It's reciprocity. It's partnership. But here you see either she's coming by and she's buying this from her, but I don't read it that way. That this woman is buying this from this woman. I think this woman's just giving it out. I think the 6 is about empathy. It's about guidance. It's about harmony, shared path, assistance. But I just view this as an offering. And I think that, and I've read it both ways, where this is the woman who's actually doing the offering, but it just seems, but you don't see that. You don't see her arm extended. And so it's just more like this is the person who's offering it to this woman who's passing by. And so whether it's emotional support or love or just sharing abundance or what have you, you see with I think it's the 6 of Wands, where the guys, the king or whoever is coming back from whatever battle or something, and the people behind him with staffs are all walking with him in unison in a shared direction, and you can see the wreath and all of that. So there's some kind of victory there that's happened. Something positive has happened, and they're all going in the same direction in celebration of that victory. Well, in a sense, it's that shared path that we need to be on, and to do something selfless to make that happen. So if you get out of so if we want to determine this as ego, okay, we get out of the ego, we access the higher awareness within, and we do something, that's a selfless act, sharing with other people, sharing the abundance, sharing the love. You've got the lily, the white lily here, in each cup there. And so there's an element of purity, an element of newness, an element of offering. And when you get into that mindset, it's like the difference between being service to self and service to others. Clearly, this is a service to others card. And if we use that to kind of place that then underneath the Hierophant with the 7 and the 9 on either side, then you've got, cards like this. And I think that it's easier to see the transition between the 7 and the 9 cards, where you get your head out of the clouds, you get your head out of the fantasy, and you ground yourself in love and service to others, and then you can find your emotional fulfillment that you need, all of which comes from a higher perspective of the Hierophant. Now, if this was the Devil card, well, we'd have a very different reading, wouldn't we? But I think that with Ansus, you're talking about a higher level of communication, a higher level of interaction, a higher awareness, interacting from that space, and I think that going forward, we do that collectively It's not just internally. It's got to be collectively, where we can understand that we can consider whatever fantasies we have, but at the end of the day, it can't simply be about the individual all of the time. I mean, sometimes it can, but I think that where the momentum is going is toward a unity consciousness kind of experience, where we can understand that when we elevate all people, then everything gets better, versus trying to have the powers that be want to take it all from the masses kind of thing. It's a very egoic situation, and nobody lives a life at that point or the majority of people don't get to live the life that they want to live and derive the emotional fulfillment that they need to derive from it. And so I think that this is really, if you look at this reading, it's really the threshold we are on. And the choice we need to make is whether or not we want to go there. I think I said this either Monday, or I might have said this last week, that it just feels to me, it reminds me of when we had one son at University of Oregon and one son at Oregon State. And so you started out on the same path, on the same road to get there, but at some point you're splitting off. And there's several splits. One you can take to Salem, then there's the split to go toward Corvallis, and the other one that goes to Eugene, where the schools are. And it just reminded me of that, where eventually you can no longer see one of those paths. You've chosen the path you're on. And I think that's what this whole experience feels like to me. Whether you want to call it ascension or how you want to see this, there seems to be a split, and eventually we don't see one another anymore. Now that can be good or bad, because then you're not being affected by, if you're on, in other words, if you're on a positive timeline or a positive path, you don't see the negative one. And it's there, but it doesn't affect you, because you're so focused on going forward in a positive way, and in a collective consciousness kind of a way, that you don't see the ego side of things anymore. It just doesn't impact you anymore. You've brought so much light into your life, and you exude that to others that you can't really, the ego finds no purchase there. So I think that, and eventually those that want to get off that path are welcome to come on to the other. They just have to go there, right? And so hopefully those people that have chosen that darker side of things will realize it's not getting them anywhere, and it's not it's not an emotionally satisfying thing, let alone a spiritually satisfying thing. But at the same time, I think that it's that stark right now, where you really you can choose the path of love, or you can choose the path of hate. And I hope that people understand the cost of choosing the path of hate. But the problem is they get so caught up in it that they can't see it. And again, with the 7, in a way, you're kind of getting caught up in something and you're focused on something that's not going to get you where you want to go. And where you want to go is here, and it's via this, is being able to extend love and unity to other people, and be there for them, and be aware of what's going on in their lives, and be a source of comfort and love to them, instead of someone who can't be bothered, to even care or to even notice, right? So anyhow, interesting reading after an election. We still don't know yet everything here in Oregon. Don't know we know who the governor is, and we know who the senator is, and all of that, but some of the stuff we don't know yet. And same is true, I guess, in a few other states. Votes are still being tallied, and there may be a couple of runoffs, and or a recount on one, and a run. I know there's going to be one runoff back east in Georgia. Is it Georgia? Where Alabama? Well, one of those. I forget where they're from, uh, but basically, we have to choose. I mean, to me, the only path is the positive one, and one that's based on higher awareness. You know, there's no time left for anything else. What we've seen happen around this country, in our neighborhoods, um, it's you can feel the energy of it, whether you're specifically impacted or you're not. You feel the energy of it, and it doesn't feel good. Um, you wanna be able to go out and about and feel like you're, with your tribe in a way. No matter how you may disagree with all kinds of things, but you're still part of the same tribe, and the tribes are splitting, and that doesn't, to me, that just feels really unfortunate, and to me, it shouldn't be, um, and because the truth is, we are all of one tribe, you know, when you come right down to it, and we need to reconcile, you know. We need to reconcile all of that, and try to find a way forward together. So, anyway, I don't know. I got a new cup, so I'm feeling a little assertive. Anyway, thanks a lot for coming by. I hope you'll click subscribe if you haven't yet. If you're new here, welcome. And I realize this is a little bit different kind of reading than you might be used to. It's like, wait a minute, I thought this was a tarot reading. No, not entirely. Um, and I like to take different divination modalities and combine them together, because I think that they're all, really all taking us in the same direction, irrespective of what they are. And I think you can find reinforcement for the different kinds of readings. I could be just as easily taking one tarot card from one deck and, something else from something else and doing a rune reading. It really wouldn't matter. I think that, but how I view the tarot in this is giving us the details of what the runes give us overall. And I really think that the message here today with Ansus and with Caput Draconis is that we are on a path that's spiritual, and we need to be there and see what that is, and figure that all out and see how it can enrich in everyone's lives together. Even if we disagree about things, that's fine. But to do that from a place of love and kindness and empathy and listening, listen to what someone else has to say, understand their perspective, even if it's something that maybe you don't necessarily agree with. At least you have brought that new understanding about someone else into your awareness, and that's always a positive thing. So anyway, that's it. Have a good weekend, and stay well. Sometimes I think we're starting to get the cold again, which is not going to be good, and we're hoping we can be with family on Thanksgiving. We're not sure at this point, though, because everyone's getting sick. So I was like, oh geez, here we go again. But that's what happens. So thanks for watching, and again, have a good weekend, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.